how do you drive change and success from the people who you work with on a daily basis, your customers? And secondly, all this change that's thrust on you individually and personally, maybe try and get a better understanding, okay, of maybe why you're acting or reacting to it the way that you are. Right? Now, as I talk about this, our research has basically shown there are 4 key beliefs that successful people have that make change and adapting to change more difficult than for other people, right? For successful people. I have a 25-year-old son right now who's a couple of years out of college. He's an accountant working for John Deere, the tractor people, right? Yeah, and if his boss says, here's what I would like you to do, you know what the answer is? Yes, ma'am. Right? That's not the people I'm talking about right now, right? I'm not talking about the people who are just getting started, eager to please, probably go along with the program. I'm talking about the people who have got a sense of skills, understanding, success under their belt, where they say, I've been pretty darn successful doing what I'm doing, the way that I'm doing it right now. What is it that you say you want to do differently now? Those are the people that I'm talking about. And there's 4 basically key beliefs that drive this process that make change sometimes more difficult. And one of those is, I have succeeded. You see, in a positive way, successful people are delusional. Because what you're saying is this belief in my past success is going to somehow make me successful in the future. Now, if you look at that objectively, it's not true. How many examples can we think of CEOs or big executives who've moved from one organization to another? And in the first organization, they had tremendous success. But for some reason, they moved to a new organization that may even be in the same industry, but it's a different mix of people. Right? In fact, when I was listening, several times now as I've been talking about you, one of the things that I'll hear about Thompson is that, remember, Dick was saying it's nice people? Your culture is basically nice people, smart people, doing good things. And if you move from a culture that's not like that, right? In fact, if you move from a culture that's more of a jungle, every person after themselves, and I see some of you reacting to that. You've been in a culture like that before, right? What was successful in the jungle may not work at Thompson. That's what I'm talking about. Success in one place may not be instant results in another, right? And the next piece is that we all tend to accept feedback that is consistent with the way we see ourselves and reject feedback that is not consistent. And that was an aha for me. You see, back when I was in industry, my last stop-off point in the real world was I was actually vice president of sales and marketing for a company called Boston Scientific. And what I used to think when I was back there in the real world is that people probably liked getting positive recognition and that they would probably have some difficulty accepting negative feedback. That's what I used to think. Now that I've been in this research world for about 14, 15 years, you know what I've discovered? There is no objective data whatsoever that backs that up. Nothing. That's not the variable, whether it's positive or negative. You know what the variable is? Does it match my self-image? And let me give you a personal example. I believe it was Mrs. Quaintance in the 4th grade that first told me, Bill, you're not really very good at planning and organizing. And then it was my first sales manager at J&J a few years later. He said, you know what he said? He said, Bill, planning and organizing, it's not your strength. And then I was vice president. The words changed, but the message didn't. You know what I was told? Bill, you're tactical, you're not strategic. Trust me, if you're vice president and you're getting feedback that says you're tactical, not strategic, this is not positive feedback. I had no trouble accepting it whatsoever. It matched my self-image from the time I was in the 4th grade. And on the other hand, those of you who are managers out, have you ever tried to give somebody some positive feedback, some positive recognition, and it's like they want to brush it off, they don't want to take it? What it tells you is that that didn't match their own self-perception. On the other hand, right, those people who you're working with who feel successful, driven themselves, right, who would raise their hand, yes, I'm in the top 5% of my peer group, what kind of feedback are these people used to getting? Pretty positive feedback, so keep that in mind. The second one is I choose to succeed. You see, when we do what we choose to do, we're committed. If it's forced down our throat, we tend to be compliant. This has been a big aha for me, right? In that successful people, the motivation has to come from within. You cannot motivate somebody else to do something they don't want to do. Right? Not an adult. You can get kids to do it, But you cannot motivate an adult to get them to do something they do not want to do. So, of course, the message is you need to spend your time with the people who at least have an open mind. Right? And the next piece on this is because successful people feel like they have all this in place, sometimes when the strategy you have is not working, it's hard to move away from it because of that sense that I can do this, I can make it happen. The next one is I can succeed. And it's this belief in our own capacity that helps make you successful. I mean, if I go back and I were to say to the leadership team at Thompson, 90% of your people saw themselves in the top 10%, almost everybody in the top 20 or 30%. Is this good or not so good? It's wonderful. Right? Is it that sense of self-confidence drives success? There's a watch out. Right? And that watch out is that what you start doing is you confuse correlation with causality. You confuse in spite of and because of.